What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hollywood Tales. My name's Ahmed Ahmed. This is my co-host.
Blake Barty, how's it going?
Hope you guys had a nice weekend. Today is President's Day. We just got back from Ventura, doing the Ventura Harbor Comedy Club.
That was a good time.
It was, right?
I mean,
Tell them what happened.
first night, I was hosting. First night, anything that could go wrong went wrong, but it ended up being a super fun night. The microphone didn't work, so we just went straight theater
It was
on
straight up like black box theater, which was fun. I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, I thought it was
no
super
microphone, hands free. I just kind of sat on the stool for 45 minutes.
Crowd was super into it. Couple chatty people up there getting a little loose. Guy went to cross his legs, knocked 4 drinks off his table in the front row.
And his mom was really chatty and kept on wanting to chime in, and that happens a lot in comedy clubs. People just think they're part of the show. It's the craziest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Well, how many people came up to you after and was like, "Hey, I'm a comedian up here"?
Oh yeah, a lot of aspiring. I didn't realize like at least 3 or 4 people in the audience were just aspiring stand-up comics. So a lot of questions and what can I do to get my career going, and
Which is cool.
which is fine. Yeah, I don't mind. I should start charging for that shit. All right.
You should write your book already.
Called a master class. What's up? Adam Hunter's here, everybody, with his daughter. What's up, bro? Come on in. Is your daughter asleep?
Yeah, I was going to be smelling this.
Do you want to have her sit on the couch with Blake's girlfriend,
That's my girlfriend.
Ivana?
Ivana, she's super nice.
It's the weed.
Oh, can she go upstairs in the green room
With who?
with Ivana? Maybe she'll do it.
Yeah, my girlfriend's fine. She doesn't have to go.
It's weed free up there. There is weed up there, but nobody's smoking it up there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Here, let me-
There's also a room over here. All right. Can we just keep rolling, or I'll just keep talking? Adam seems stressed. His daughter, Adam Hunter's daughter, is one of the most beautiful girls I've ever met in my life. She's so funny, and he's like, "Can I bring my daughter to the podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess, sure." But where we do our podcast at Jam in the Van is very weed friendly. It's a very weed friendly environment, and it smells like weed in here. So he walked in with his daughter, who was asleep on his shoulder. He was like, yeah, I can't bring my daughter in here. Anyway, he'll be back in a minute. Adam Hunter is one of the most respected, I would say, goats of all time. This guy's been in the comedy game a long time. You can find him on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. He's like blowing up on TikTok at Adam Comedian. He writes, he produces, he tours. He doesn't have an agent and a manager, mind you. And this guy works more than comics who have agents and managers. He just hustles. He's got that hustle. He has a podcast called MMA Roasted, where he like literally roasts MMA fighters. They ask him to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like he'll tell me MMA fighters call him up and be like, "Hey, can you roast me next?" I'd be like, "All right, just don't kick my ass." Yeah. Anyway, he's a great guy. He's gonna be walking in any second. I've known him 20 years. I was at his wedding. He's cool as fuck. So here they are. They're coming back. By the way, we are here at Jam in the Van Studios, complex, artist friendly thing. What's up, bro?
What's going on?
Sorry about that. I forgot to tell you.
Yeah, I can't. She comes home smelling like weed. My wife's like, what the fuck?
What are you doing with our daughter?
Yeah, like, why does her daughter smell like
You're
weed?
like, I was hanging out with Ahmed Ahmed. And
Yeah, just have her. Might as well give her some Coke straws and
Good
everything.
to see you, dude.
Good, how are you doing?
I didn't realize she just like falls asleep just like that.
On the way over here. She fell asleep, yeah.
But then you picked her up and got her out of the car, and she just stayed
yeah,
asleep.
she's asleep. She might wake up and then start crying. So
Right. She can.
'cause she
I
know
don't
where
want her
she
to come
is.
in here.
Yeah,
We're not live, so we'll figure it out.
Is
Okay.
Ivana with
She's
her?
up there, yeah.
She's in good hands. All right.
She's good with kids.
All right.
Oh, sure. No problem.
Thanks for coming all the way out here. You live in the valley, and we're in West LA.
Yeah, I
so
got like
it's
2
a
auditions
chat.
tomorrow morning.
Appreciate you, man.
Like I'm trying to memorize 20 pages, and then it's President's Day, so there's no school. That's why I have my
Right.
kid.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know
So-
what? Then I should have scheduled it.
No, it's okay because I
didn't put it
I
together.
screwed up last week, so it's like I felt
Yeah,
bad, I felt terrible.
how was Alaska, dude?
Alaska was great. We rolling this?
Yeah, we're
Oh
rolling.
yeah, no, Alaska was
Yeah.
great. It was Anchorage, and people were just really they were just thanking me for coming out. They're like,
Right.
we don't get people from the lower 48, and they were
The lower 48.
They were so nice. But one lady was like, like at the early show, some lady was like making out with her boyfriend or something like the whole time, just like going at it. So I was like, oh, these two are definitely cheating. Like, you know, it's something.
They're too horny.
The lady gets up, does like a dance, and then throws her bra at me, right? Like, but not like a bra. It was like more like a tank top shirt. But she hit the guy in front of me, and he gets hit in the face with her bra. So he's mad. So he takes it and just throws it down. And he's like, F you. It was almost like a fight broke out. It was like the worst.
Between them?
Yeah, between them. Like, I'm like, hey, guys, I have it on like tape. I was like, guys, like, relax. You know, she didn't mean to throw, she hit you with her bra. And it was going to be like Roadhouse. And it was like at a bar.
I think if I remember that place, it used to be called Chill Coop Charlie's.
Yeah.
And there's a room in there that is nothing but bras hanging all across. So maybe.
You've been there?
Yeah. When I was in the Air Force, we had some training thing up there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, 100%.
So much fun.
That's exactly what it was. But it was crazy. So that was crazy. And then like the opener, nice guy. He shows up with like a bag of weed, but like a duffel bag. And, like,
I would have liked that guy.
And he throws it on the table. He goes, yo, I got this from work. If you guys want, I'm like,
we grew this during the summer solstice.
Yeah, I was like, where do you work? Hopefully not like a preschool or something. You know, like what? Like, so he's like, yeah. So then and then he gave me this like huge blunt. And then he was
smoke it.
Well, yeah, I smoked it that night before. I smoked not that blunt. I gave it away because I was trying to memorize lines that night. But then this girl came up to me and she's like, hey, why don't you come party with us later? And I was like, sorry, I got to get back. Plus, I'm married. She goes, no, I'm married too, and I have kids. So it's not like that. And I was like, well, that's a bad sales pitch right there. Like I'm like, I would have said no anyway, but if you would have been like, hey, we both want to blow you, like that, you would have been way better.
So Adam, just so you know, for those of you watching, listening, Adam Hunter is an old friend of mine. We've known each other, 20 plus years, maybe?
Yeah.
You started in New York.
Yep.
Right? Moved out to LA. But he's one of the most heckled comedians I've ever met in my life. And I don't know if you trigger or instigate it. I don't think you try. I think you have trigger words that make people go, ah, they want to and if you go on his Instagram or TikTok, you'll see videos of him just literally getting, not gaslit, but hecklers trying to gaslight you. And you just,
a lot of it is like, I just select those from hours of footage. And I just was like, it's
right.
not like, but yeah, I think that, I remind somebody of someone that they feel they could just talk to,
right.
And a lot of times it's like kind of playful. It's
right.
not like a couple times it's like, I've gotten like, if you look up comedian attacked at wedding, like the guy got up and tried to fight me at a wedding.
But that was a TV pilot or show, wasn't that?
No, that was a real thing.
Oh, really?
They hired me to do a show in Apple Valley.
Right, I saw
to
that
play
footage.
the minister and to marry the couple.
Right.
They told me to roast everybody.
Right.
But they didn't tell anyone that like this was
Nobody
going to
was
happen.
in on it, right.
No, except for the couple. And then it was all Marines in the crowd.
Oh,
and then one guy looked like he was in the Goo Goo Dolls. So I said, hey man, sorry your band broke up or something like. And his band did break up. So he got up and pushed me. And I was like, "Don't stop believing," or something. Like it just kept.
Is that footage online?
Yeah, you look up "Community Attack at Wedding."
Do you got that, Wolf?
It's got like
Thanks.
a million.
Dearly beloved, we gather here today on this amazing, joyous occasion with two incredible people. You got to return those highlights. Oh, come on, dude.
Fucking funny, dude. Fuck you.
Really?
Yeah, really.
This is a joke, bro.
Yeah.
This is what I get paid.
Fuck off.
Sorry, the band broke up.
Fucking ass.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, real quick, Wolf Ramirez over here behind the scenes running the whole operation. So thanks, man. Just want to give you a shout out. Have you been here before?
No, this is awesome.
Jam in the Van in West Hollywood. They do stand-up comedy. They do live music. They record live music in their van, which is outside. There's an indoor 150 seat venue and a 300 seat outdoor courtyard. It's really cool, man. The podcast studio. So we want to do a live podcast outside. I want you to do it with us.
Wow, yeah.
But so all right, so we have footage of that stuff because I remember seeing that online and I was just like, he's gonna get his ass kicked at a wedding.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
And how did it end
well,
up
what
for
ended,
that?
well, the guy pushed me, but I had like a torn ACL and I hadn't got paid back. I hadn't got paid yet, and I don't want to ruin the person's wedding. But they were laughing about it, and then then the guy goes inside, and I have to do another 35 minutes after that. And I just see him pacing back and forth because I can see the window, and he's making faces at me. And then I kept going and doing my act, and people were laughing. At the same time, like, there was a grandma there, and she got mad. She's like, "We don't want to hear about your sex jokes." And I'm like, they hired me to pretend like I didn't, like, hey, show up at the wedding. And then, so then I started doing, like, clean jokes for grandma. And it just kept getting more. And then I had to, then they were drunk, the couple, so that took me like 2 hours to pay me. So I had to stay there while the guy was like, but anyway, now we're friends, me and the couple. They've been to like 10 of my shows. And that clip has been on, like, you know, World's Worst Weddings.
Yeah, I remember
like,
seeing
you
it.
know, Weddings Gone Wrong.
You posted it a couple of times. I remember seeing it.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was a prank show that you wrote or something.
No, I
like
did.
that.
I had a show called Ambush Stand Up,
Right.
which was also kamikaze comedy, where I did comedy. People weren't expecting it.
But somebody was just randomly filming this.
Yeah, that was just me getting hired at a wedding. That was not part of the
Who
show.
was filming it? Just like
my friend Brian Swinehart. I think
Got
he was
it.
the one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
he was laughing. It was all shaky.
That's hilarious.
And then after that, I got booked at a baby shower. Luckily, I didn't get attacked there, but it also went pretty rough. So,
What's the worst gig you've ever done as a comic?
I mean,
Like in
I just
light-
got this week. I mean, I've done so many ridiculous gigs. I mean, I got one time I got booked at this. It was a college, and it was brought to you by the Cancer Society, and they played a video of all these kids that had cancer, and at the end they all died. They had their names and like how long they, and they're like, time for the show. And, like, so people were just like crying. I mean, that wasn't necessarily a bad gig, but like that was the bad timing of that.
Right.
You know, I did a show. I've done so many backyard shows or shows during the pandemic, where people would honk the horn if they like your jokes
Right.
out in the parking lot.
You work like relentlessly, and before you walked in, I was kind of giving people, you know, the 411 on you, but like your hustle is so strong and daily. It's like, does this guy sleep? Plus, you're married and have a kid.
Yeah,
and
no, it's. I mean, I
traveling. Like, you have a lot going on. Auditioning for stuff, booking things.
I love the game.
No agent.
No, I have an agent.
Oh, you got one.
Yeah, I don't have a comedy agent. I have like an acting agent.
Oh, okay, I didn't
and
know
like,
that.
but I don't have a. No, it's just me. I mean, you know, no one's gonna work as hard as you are than like yourself.
Right.
But I also did a nudist colony a couple weeks
Yeah, I was
ago.
going to ask you about that because
Yeah.
somebody told me a funny story about. I guess there's a circuit for that, like a comedy circuit for nudist colonies.
Yeah.
Like, who books that?
That was crazy. The whole crowd was naked, and I mean,
Is it attractive
No,
naked people?
no, it was the worst.
It's usually not.
Sorry,
mean,
I
come
just
on.
No.
typically they're not good looking people.
a couple of them, but I think that was because the other ones were so unattractive. They just got better looking. And they were like, "What could we do better here?" I'm like, "You might want to open up a gym, you know." And then they're like, "We don't body shame." Like, I thought you'd have thicker skin, you know. Literally.
Oh hell yeah!
But that was funny. Because some guy's balls were just looking at me the whole time. He's all spread, you know, and I'm like, we're looking eye to eye the whole show. And then I got a standing ovation, but it was horrible because I got everyone's junk, you know. It was just, it was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. Me and Steve Briggs did it too. It was me and Briggs did it together.
Oh shit!
But yeah, I did the nudist. I mean, there was a comic that I knew that did, because the cruise ships could be rough. Those are like. You know,
you just got off a cruise ship.
yeah. Those
Was
could
it
be
Carnival or
Carnival. Yeah.
I heard the what do you call it, the where the rooms they give you or the cabins they give you are like not.
It can be
livable
rough. I mean, it can be rough. But there was a comic I knew who did a nude cruise. Like they had everyone's naked on the cruise, and he got in trouble for being too dirty. Like, then another comic I knew, because they like basically like they'll rent out half the cruise for something, or the cruise. Right. Like they'll have like New Kids on the Block will have a cruise, or the Backstreet Boys. So they had a Richard Simmons cruise, right? But he only sold like 300 tickets. So they had like, they didn't tell anyone else on the cruise, this is a Richard Simmons cruise. So my friend said people were eating like dinner or breakfast at brunch, and all of a sudden Richard Simmons jumps on the table, and like all these like fat people start dancing, and people are like, "What the fuck's going on right now? Is that Richard Simmons?" It was like a South Park.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
crazy.
like This Is Not Happening episode.
Flash mob.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I love stand up. It's the greatest thing in the world. But sometimes like I'll do gigs because I know there'll be a good story behind it.
So
you know?
I want to hear. I have a quite funny story that I want to get to, like how you began as a comic. But we were driving over here, and you know, Venice Boulevard has a mad, crazy homeless population and shit going on. But this one guy had a really genius sign on the back of his what was it, a tent camper? It was a homeless guy, but he had a big like
Yep.
painted black, big piece of wood, like a platform or something, and it said in spray paint. What did it say again?
It said contact to advertise here.
That's
Like he
funny.
was running his own little billboard
his own little
agency.
billboard
Steve
agency.
Hofstetter was it? That sounds like something.
I was like, talk about thinking outside of the box.
That's hilarious.
Thank you. He just wrote that on the way here. Tell everybody where you got your start. Like, what made you get into stand-up comedy? Because a lot of people that are going to watch this podcast, you know, I try to have like, you know, hustlers and go-getters. It's not just comics. We had like a conspiracy theorist. You know, the other week we're gonna have an athlete coming in after you. But comics have a great perspective because the way you start is so, you know, from scratch.
Yeah.
So you have some great stories about how you started, like passing out flyers in New York City.
Yeah, I mean, before that, it was actually like, because like, so in high school I wrestled. You know, I was a four-time class
Adam,
A
by the
champ.
way, is a badass fighter. I don't know if you know
Not
that.
fighter, wrestler.
Yeah, but you
wrestler.
can hold your own.
Wrestler. So I wrestled in college, and then I was losing like 20 pounds a week. I was going from 150 to 34, and just miserable, starving. But my college I went to was Binghamton, SUNY Binghamton, and they had a talk show. They had where the people could like call in, and they tried to have real like, you know, conversations about race. And I would just call in and be like, yeah, you know, Devane got heckled, and like, who? I'm like, Devane and my dick, and I'd hang up the phone. And this was like what I did every Thursday just to make myself and like 6 people laugh. But then I quit the wrestling team because I got burned. I just hated lose. I was spitting in a cup all day. I was sleeping with the windows, you know, freezing, so I'd shiver off weight.
Right.
I was wearing 3 rubber suits. You know, it's just not healthy. I wasn't eating for 5 days in a row. I kind of broke. And I was doing it all wrong. 2 kids died my year from cutting weight. Not in my thing, but in like my conference. Yeah, they were jump roping in the shower with rubber suits, and then they passed out. Another one was on
just from
a bike.
dehydration or whatever, right?
So then I'm like, you know, after I was bored and like I had nothing going on, I went to this like boarding school where they like really said like, if you're not doing anything in your life, you're a fucking failure, you know. And I'm like, I can't be a failure. I can't be, you know, nobody. I'm gonna have my own talk show. So I go down and I pretend to learn like this, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then I had a show called These Nuts. I was 17 years old, and I had like a bunch of my friends. It was kind of like this, right? Like a bunch of my friends on the wrestling team, and I had like a Budweiser model chick and a guy that played the guitar that might have been homeless and this and that. And then everyone was calling in. They were making fun of me. Like they were doing exactly what I did to everyone else. Oh, there was gonna be a bunch of chicks be like, "You're hot." They were like, "What's wrong with your ear?" You know, like because of cauliflower ear. They had acne. They're like, "Are you Vanilla Ice or Corey Haim?" I was just getting murdered. On like,
Where was this?
it was on Binghamton, closed circuit Binghamton television. You can watch it in the dorms, right?
Interesting.
And now every dorm is glued to These Nuts, right? And I was like, yeah, well, fight me, you piece of shit. Like I'm causing like, I'm like, come on, bring it on. I'm 17 years old. So then this girl comes on, and she's like, she calls up. She's like, my name is Hannah, and people are going to talk shit about me, and they could blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you hit on me at the gym. And I'm like, dude, I hit on you. I'm like sweating I'm not hitting anybody. I'm hitting the fucking pavement because I'm passing out. Right. So I'm like, okay. So then everyone starts talking about that girl, Hannah. Like, Hannah's a bitch, and she stole my jeans. And so now everyone's watching this. So then Hannah comes down to defend herself on the air to the crowd. So she jumps in front of the screen, and she's like, this guy Seth is a fat ass. He needs to go to the gym, blah, blah, blah. And Seth was the captain of the soccer team who she hooked up with, right? So now the whole school is watching
Nobody
this, right?
fucks with Seth.
No one fucked with Seth, right? So now she comes down, and I had a guy that was an ex-Marine writing funny things at the bottom of the screen, like, Hannah's not a whore, she just likes sex, and all, like, just killing her, right? And people were like, you need to, you know, just, you know, people like, so one girl said, take the Jewish star and stick it up your ass. Just all this ridiculous stuff, right? So then, but I'm defending her. I'm like, she seems like a nice person, and she came out of the show. Anyway, then she leaves, and that guy Seth comes on drunk. He jumps in front. All right, lo and behold, long story short, she sues the school for $20 million. Sues me for $20 million.
What?
Yeah, and sues Seth for $20 million. Like, it was a $60 million lawsuit. I got sued for like negligence, for being anti-Semitic. You know, I'm Jewish because that girl said that, and I was laughing at the 3 jokes before.
Shit.
Like, just. So then there were no more shows on Binghamton Television. It was my first and last show, right? And then they had to have a disclaimer 5 months later. It goes to the Supreme Court of Brooklyn, right? Like
Shit.
She didn't win the lawsuit.
No, I was covered by the school insurance. Thank God. My dad like knew it. But like her dad was a lawyer. It was like this whole thing.
That's
right?
crazy if you didn't get that coverage.
Oh my God. So then like, but then like, my dad's like, you go to school for 2 months, you come home with a $20 million lawsuit. Like, can't you just go to school like everyone else? Like, go to class.
funny.
But after that, I was like, this is the most fun I've ever had in my life. You could be a talk show host like
Right.
that. I mean,
At 17?
What a great job. I
You
can't
liked
believe-
entertaining.
So then I'm like, I gotta become a talk show host. Like, fuck this. But although half the school wanted to beat me up because
Right.
I threatened to fight them all, you know. And then I joined a fraternity. 'Cause I needed friends really quick.
You were like Jake Paul before.
So I joined a fraternity, but because I needed friends. But then I hated being a fraternity, right? So I'm like, this is so stupid. But I only did it because half the school wanted to beat me up because I was in D's nuts. And then to get out of, there was this girl that I was trying to pick up one time at breakfast. Her name was Tatiana. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm giving lessons for the black dance team, right? I'm like, oh, you have to be black to join? She's like, no. So I joined as a joke. I tried out and made the team. So I got to miss pledging. And I actually won most dedicated member of the black dance team in 1996 at SUNY Binghamton.
Hey,
So-
white
I got
lives
3 of
matter.
those awards. Don't worry
White
about
lives
that.
matter too.
So then I was like, then I dropped out of school to become a talk show host. I had no idea what I was doing. And then I'm like, I want to be an actor. Maybe I'll be an actor.
And you're in New York at this point.
I'm in New York,
Right.
and I took a couple comedy courses, which were like, this guy Chris Murphy was a really good. Another guy, Tommy Koenig. But basically, comedy courses are like classes are like they put you in a room with a bunch of other people that don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
You know, but it's kind of cool. And then
you were on the circuit in New York, like pretty
Well,
hardcore. You were grinding that scene for
I
a
was
while.
I was doing bringer shows, but because I had a lot of friends because I live in New York. But then that quickly became like I was running out of friends. And then you basically you stay friends with people just so you can bring them to your shows.
Right.
And then those are the worst people. Then they want to hang out afterwards. You got to buy them drinks. And then MTV picked me up because I was giving out flyers every night at Hamburger Harry's. Like I walked into the Gladys's comedy room. And she's like, oh, I did her open mic. She's like, you're passed. You can now give out flyers. So then I went out in Times Square for 3 years, and it was fucking freezing.
Every night or just a couple
every
nights?
night. People would spit on me. Like, I would see, like, I had the black Israelites. I was, like, me and them were competing for people. Like, they're like, we're the real Jews. And I'm like, hey, come to the Hamburger Harry. Like, we're screaming. Dude, I would see kids I went to college with that were like going to Broadway shows with that they're now on Wall Street. They're like, how's it going? I'm like, great. I'm at Hamburger Harry's tonight. And they're like, okay, we're going to go see Rent. You know,
Damn.
it was fucking brutal. MTV then was like, they followed me around for True Life. I'm a comic. And they did a documentary on me, Godfrey, and this girl, Allison Castillo. And even in the documentary, I like was trying to get into the comic strip. That was like my thing.
I remember that scene in the doc. You, the booker.
I was doing the laundry. Well, first I did the laundromat.
The laundromat.
And it was a built-in homeless audience. So that was good. I did the laundromat on Tuesdays. Wednesdays I did. They did a supermarket where you did comedy while people were checking out at the register. And if you held up the line, it meant your joke was good. Like, and then
What about you did a couple of the like sort of ambush gas stations?
gas
and
station,
shit?
but that was like influenced by that. And then I did the Krispy Kreme donut shop, but that got canceled because someone threw a donut at one of the comics. So yeah, that was so I did those. That was like my start.
But there's a scene in that documentary because I remember you posted it online of you as a young comic, and you did your spot. You came off stage, and the booker, I think it was a woman,
Starla.
came up to you and said, "You're not ready."
Yeah, I mean,
know,
and she was right.
I
I
can't
mean,
pass you.
fucking
You're not.
starlet.
And then Adam, like, you know, you kind of like, you go, you were real like humble and still thankful about it. You're like, oh, okay, shucks, I understand. It was like one of those.
well,
and then
I wasn't that surprised because I had she failed me the week before, but like MTV needed
For the show,
for the
right,
show,
right.
so I'm like, it's not gonna pass
so
me.
fucked up.
Fucking let's reenact that.
And then
please.
my dad was like, you're not gonna fail. You're gonna fail, right? Like he told me that he was trying to protect me. And then that was just it was embarrassing though because everyone's like, I saw you on. I think I was doing extra work on the Bobby Flay show at the time.
Oh, hell yeah.
And we got to eat food. And Bobby Flay was like, I saw you on TV. I heard you failed. Like that's what I'm like. Thanks, Bobby Flay. You like, guy was an asshole.
Who is
So-
your talk show host you kind of idolized then?
I don't know. I mean, I just kind of wanted my own show. I couldn't believe that this was an actual. It was just so much fun. It was like actually very. I still have the tape of it. I still have it. I want to put it on line, but I don't want her to sue me again.
I gotta see.
20 mil, yeah, you
is
should
it
put it up.
VHS?
VHS. I still have the tape of it.
I gotta see it.
But yeah, that was like my first. It was it was a 4-hour show, and that was the first time I ever became like famous. You know, like I
Yeah.
was famous in high school because I was the wrestler, and there was only 200 kids in my whole school, and it was like you know, very small like thing, but. That was like my first like notoriety, you know. It was weird walking around, people like all pointing at you, and I thought I was gonna get so much pussy. I got the exact same amount of pussy I was getting beforehand.
How did you get so heavily like embedded? Was it the wrestling that brought you into the? Because you're big in the MMA scene.
Yeah, that was an accident.
Really?
Yeah, basically I was opening. John Heffron took me up on tour with him, and we were just watching fights all the time, me and John, and he got cast to host the MMA awards. And he needed a writer. So he called me, and I wrote some sketches for him. Me, him, and this guy, Joey Vegas, real nice guy. And the sketches did really well. They put them online. It was like Randy Couture, divorce attorney. Randy had been divorced a bunch of times. And Vanderlei Silva was like a Dear Abby, like the axe murderer, like ass guy. So then I ran into Dana White at a casino. We just hit it off. And I invited Dana to my show. And Dana was like, yeah, I'll come to your show. And then he didn't come the next day, but he called the bouncer at the club and said, hey, tell Adam I couldn't come to the show, but thanks for the invite. Like that's like Dana White. And then
we'll get into a future Dana White story that I want to share. But
then I like pitched a show to Dana, which I still want to sell, called So You Think You're a Tough Guy.
Right, which I think is a great fucking show. Tell it.
Let's
pitch
do
it.
it. Pitch it. Here's anyone wants to steal my show. Here you go. So basically, I drive around a truck, and there's like an octagon in the back and a fighter, because everyone's always like, I could beat that guy. That guy sucks, and even I could beat him, and then you could fight the person in the thing. So then I pitched a show, and they didn't take the show, but then Dana wanted to do these like he loved Tosh.0. He wanted me to be like a Tosh.0 of MMA. Right. So then they hired me for like 3 years to do these little videos for fights, but I couldn't say that I worked for them. It was funny because they actually called me one time to the UFC, and they're like, hey, how would you like to work here? And I was like, I already do. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I work here. I've been working here for 2 years, longer than you have. Right. And then the guy like left the room, and he's like,
not on paper.
No, you actually do work here. Like they're like, okay, thanks, have a good day. Like it was the weirdest meeting.
That's so funny.
Great idea. I have a fat friend that thinks he could beat up Ronda Rousey, and I'm like, dude, you couldn't last like 10 seconds. He's like, but I'm a man. Like if I hit her, I go, you're not gonna, dude.
Yeah. So then that became like. I worked for Fox Sports. They picked up a podcast. I had a job.
But this is after you got to LA.
Yeah, this is after LA. Yeah,
so in between New York and LA, like what was that transition?
Dude, that was brutal, man. I mean, I was at Gladys's with this guy Dave Rubin, who's like a big he's always on Fox News now. He opens up for like Ben Shapiro. They go on and like so me and him were basically running. I was running Gladys's because I was the best barker. I would get like 50 people a night.
Gladys's was the name of the
club. It had Hamburger Harry's. And I would get everyone in there because I was like 21, 22. I lived across the street, so I'd have after hours there. Right. And I had all the tourists. As soon as someone looked up, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get them. Like, I know they're looking for things. So then, hey, we got comics from MTV and Showtime, and we'd bring them. And then I had a walker. I had Melissa Rausch, who was on The Big Bang Theory, who's like doing very well right now. She was my walker because it was like down the block. So I'm like, all right, you walk the tourists down there. I had a whole system of people.
What do you mean? What was your walk?
Because I'd be on like 7th and I'd be on 45th and 7th. But I'd be like, hey, we got a comedy show, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then you initial the flyer, you give it to them. And then they'd be like, I'm like, yeah, it's just down there. And then people think they're getting robbed, like.
So you had a girl.
I had like a cute little girl walk them, who's now like a big star now, Melissa Rausch.
And would she get paid for this?
Nobody got paid. Like that, we were all doing it for free in the beginning.
Right.
And then I was getting paid on nights I ran, but then I wasn't getting. And then me and Dave were like, "Fuck this," because I was such a good barker. Well, also I would have after hours on my place. So
tell people what a barker is.
Barker is like you tell someone, you give out a flyer.
Random strangers walking by, and you're like, "Hey, you like stand-up
Hey, we got
comedy?"
comics from MTV and Showtime and Comedy Central.
And you give them a little flyer,
and then they come
right.
and. It was so successful, like 10 other clubs popped up around, comedy clubs. Oh, wow. And then we would be like pimps. We'd be fighting other barkers.
It's like what Girl Scouts
fucking
do.
ha had like the ha had.
You guys had territories and street corners.
Yeah,
and shit?
I almost got in a fight with Dustin Chavin. There's a good friend of mine over because he was working at a place called I think Ha, and then they didn't like me. It was crazy, and then comics couldn't like work.
Right.
So then, but then people would come, and then they would be like, you would tell them that there was, Chris Rock or comics from all these Saturday Night Live, and they'd be like, "That's the guy that gave me the fucking flyer." They're mad now because they've been duped.
Right.
So, but then eventually, I was such a good barker, and me and Gladys, I love Gladys. She's one of my favorite people, and I owe a lot to her. But her husband, rest in peace. I was so good that they wanted me to bark on nights I wasn't on the show, and I was like, "Fuck,
Just to bark,
fuck
right.
that, dude!" Like I'm like
not
I'm
pay
already
you.
no, I'm like I'm already making. So it got to that point, and I was also like, I was also a shop boy / stripper at the Culture Club downtown. That's a whole nother issue.
That's another podcast.
So then
Shot
I
boy.
was making like money. There was money in my sock. Anyway, so money.
what,
I would
what,
take.
what were you wearing?
I had a
Was it-
pink headband. It was a play called Birdie's Bachelorette Party, and it was the same people who did Tony Tina's wedding, right?
Right.
But you didn't know it was a bachelorette party. It was at the Culture Club, which was an '80s club in New York that was like all bridge and tunnel, which means Jersey and Long
Jersey.
Island.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And then my character was Woody the Shop Boy, right? And so I had a pink headband and glitter, and I was fucking ripped, and I had fake tan.
Did you have a shirt?
A shirt, but it was like cut. It was a belly shirt.
Send us a
and
photo
I had
so
I
we
had a
can get it
pink
up there.
belt.
Do you have a picture of this?
Yeah, I had a pink
Can you
belt.
send it to us? Because we got to put that.
And
up.
I would give lap dances. My job was to give girls lap dances in the back for like $5 a lap dance, but with my clothes on, right? But so then I would, and I would clear like $300, $400. I would just the whole night just
Damn.
give fucking lap dances. I had a system down.
hardest
right?
working comic in show business.
But
people.
then I was the shop boy at the Culture Club afterwards.
Now, what
right?
does that mean? You walk around in
Walk
the
around
same
with shots.
outfit?
Yeah,
In the
with
same
shots,
outfit?
right? Yeah, and it's all the girls now are now fucking wasted from the
Right.
bachelorette party, and they're all downstairs, and I'm dancing with them, and I'm doing like 10 shots a night, and I'm on creatine and Adderall and fucking antidepressants, and I'm all fucking bodybuilder shit. So the girls would be like, "Hey, can you buy my friend a shot?" And then I realized like that's like $5. I'm like, "All right, here's the deal. All you 20 girls do a shot. Hers is on me, right?" That's when I realized that girls were bad at math. They'd be like, "Sure," right? And I would make fucking like $300, and then I would have the girls put the money in my in my crotch, and they'd fucking be like, "What are you doing later?" I'm like, "I'm not really an escort," So then, but then I would take the shot glass and I put it by my crotch, and girls would kneel down, and I would do it like that, or I put it in my mouth into their mouth, right? It was crazy.
Wait, go back to the first one.
Girls like to party.
So I'd be
They
like,
to party.
"Hey, do a shot," and I just hold the shot, and the girls would get on their knees and do a shot, like basically like give me a blowjob, right? So
I just want to put a little disclosure out there, disclaimer on the Hollywood Tales podcast. Any content you hear or see, it may not be reflected on us.
or I have the shot like this, and then I
And they
just
would
put
come
it
up.
and then into their mouth,
And they probably went nuts over that, right?
woo, and then
Right.
it was crazy.
Like guys would never do that.
How many times you get sexually assaulted?
Well, number one, I would give out my flyers to the comedy club the whole time also. And then I heard it end up like in the urinal a couple times. But so guys would get drunk and be like, try to take my fucking pink headband, or girls try to take my headband. And
That's a
then,
no-fly
but
zone.
I was making the club like 3,000 a night. I was
Right.
I was going through like 9 bottles a night.
Right.
So I would just go like that, and some fucking like some NFL fucking guy
Oh yeah.
would fucking take the guy and throw him the fuck
I like
out.
how you did that. You had power. Like that's power, right? When you can not even look and just
What
snap
was
your
your
fingers.
nickname?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. What?
What was your name?
Woody the Shop Boy.
Woody
Yeah,
the
Woody,
Shop Boy,
Woody
yeah.
the Shop Boy.
Woody the shop boy.
Dude, it was crazy.
No, but not even looking for a bouncer. You just go.
Yeah, yeah, and then they would fucking grab these fucking
come
Tony and
over.
throw him out of the club, or I mean,
hilarious.
that was so that was doing that, and then doing the thing, and then we opened up our own club like 2 blocks down called Joe Franklin's,
Why? Because you guys had it down to a science. You don't need them.
because I was giving them money. I was giving them half
Right.
the money. They weren't.
So why-
she wasn't showing up.
Right.
I was giving her money like literally when I was there it was 2 days a week. Now it's 5. Now it's 7 days a week.
Right.
And then the guys had me doing on nights I'm not on. That was it. It was like that was
the deal
That was the
breaker.
deal breaker.
Right,
I'm
right,
like, you don't give a fuck about me. It's fucking. It's negative 10 degrees out.
So then at some point you got into the clubs in New York, right? You were on the circuit, more or less.
I was managed by Carrie Hoffman, and he owned Stand Up New York.
Okay.
This guy was such a dick manager. I would call up and be like, "Hey, Carrie, it's Adam. Hold on," and he'd send me to voicemail. My own fucking
shit.
manager, like my own manager. And that was. But then they had a contest, like funniest comic in New York, right? And but he was okay. Carrie, he was all right. That was some shit he did that was fucked up. But other times we went to Vegas together, me, him, Aziz, and then we did like the Vegas Comedy Club, Comedy Festival, Forbes, whatever, and
Aziz Ansari.
Aziz and Ruth Ann Seconda saw me and liked me, and I almost had to deal with UTA and yada yada. So, they had a contest, funniest comic in New York. It was like 20 fucking levels long, right? So I show up to the club one night, I think not even pick up a check or something. And they're like, Adam, you're in the contest. It was like the finals. But I was a client of his. I'm like, and they're like, I went up, did 5 minutes, like, you won. I'm like, I didn't even enter. Like I'm like, this is the most fixed. I almost fucking gave my speech that I didn't really win this fucking contest.
I didn't win this fight. It was
but you got to go to LA. That was, and then they put you up in LA.
Did your manager look at you and give you the wink like?
He's like, congratulations. I'm like, I'm not really in this contest. Okay.
Hey kid, don't worry about it. I fixed everything.
It's completely fixed. Everyone who won was his client.
Second, third.
Yeah,
second,
and nobody
third place.
entered we all won a trip to LA to do a comedy at the Improv.
So what happens? So you come to LA, you do the showcase
do the
at
Improv.
And how old are you at this point?
28, 27.
Right.
Nice.
And
what, do they put you up and all that stuff?
They put me up in in West Hollywood, right by the Crunch. Oh no, I think there was a gym there, and I'm like, it was all like, I didn't realize I was in Boys Town. It was all gay, and I'm like, man, these movies are full of shit. There's not one chick in this fucking Hollywood. Like,
Did you put your glitter back on?
yeah, I was like, this is.
But was that your first time in LA?
Yeah,
ever?
first time
oh,
ever.
I thought you had been here before.
No, it was my first
okay.
time. And then I do the spot at the Improv, and it goes really well. It was the Montreal Comedy Festival auditions. It was the year that John Caparulo got it, because I remember he killed that night.
I remember that.
And then I went on after.
He got a TV deal off of that as well, I think.
And I went on after that, same set, and I had like a bunch of people that came and saw me, and then Anthony Clark came up to me, and he was like, "Hey man, you're really funny." He goes, "Dude, I'll get you my manager, I'll get you my agent," and I was like, "I'm in." He's like, "Just move here." And then I was like, "Fuck it." I'm like, it's freezing. I hate fucking New York. It's so cold. This guy's a star. Like, so I moved out, and Anthony and me, and he was all right.
Did he introduce you to the agent manager?
He got me a manager and an agent.
Okay.
And he was nice.
That's actually a nice ending.
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen.
No, he
Come on
did.
out here, and then you never hear from them, you know?
He did. He definitely did that. So that was very nice.
We're going to wrap it up soon. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Well, what's coming up for you?
What's coming up? I'm going to be on a episode of Picard, which is Star Trek.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you told me that.
So excited about that. And then I'm working on a third special for the UFC. So you did the first one.
I did. Adam Hunter was kind enough to have me come feature for him for this cool thing that Dana White produced. And it was elaborate. It was right there in the Apex in Las Vegas. It was during COVID, unfortunately. So there were like 50 people, 100 people maybe, scattered.
Wearing masks.
And distance. So it was very awkward, but it was cool. They treated us with class. And Dana White was a class act and super nice guy.
Oh, we had a blast. Dude, me and him, I met you.
Thanks for that.
You're the first guy to
cool.
ever give me a spot in LA, like a real spot. Like you and Jay Davis put me up at Dublin's. I remember I went out to LA and I went to the Comedy Store. Like it was our open mic, and there was a guy like heckling. It was like 6 people. It was beyond depressing. Like I was like, oh no, I made a mistake. And then I go across the street, and Dane Cook's on stage.
Right.
And there's like
before he was Dane
300 of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh God.
I'm like, what the fuck? And I sneak backstage, and it's you and like Cole Hauser and Vince Vaughn, and I'm like, this is insane. I'm like, I gotta get up here. I got this. I gotta get on this stage, and then you put me up. I remember it was like,
how did we meet? Did somebody introduce us?
Dean Abdallah.
That's right.
Dean vouched for me.
That's right.
And I remember you were outside with like 30 Persian guys around you. Like you were the godfather of Glendale. And it was fucking, I was like, Ahmed, I remember like going up to you, and I'm like, what the fuck? It was all like angry looking Persian guys, but classy,
Yeah.
you know? So, so that was, then you put me up, and it was awesome. And then after that we did, I did your other show where there was like excess. You had go-go dancers.
That's right.
On between the shows. And then
we became friends. We traveled to Dubai together, and we did shows in Seychelles. And we're going to wrap it up soon. I just want to ask you, I want to ask you 2 things. So like right now, the whole cancel culture, and not only in general, but with comedy specifically, is very, very much teetering on like right and left, who's wrong, who's right, who's in the middle. There's a lot of crazy like sort of suspects out there. What do you think of the Rogan, attention? And you know him, and he's actually even sung your praise on
Rogan
his
has
podcast.
always been very nice to me, and which has been cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that Rogan's not going anywhere. I think when you have 90 million people,
Right.
I think it's a money thing. I think cancel culture only really, except for like Roseanne Barr, and that show was making money, and they just like tossed her, but they kept the show going, So I think that like it's just like, as long as people are making money, like Dave Chappelle just got four more Netflix specials.
Yeah,
It's
no, he's not going anywhere. I just thought it was funny because, Neil Young tried to cancel him, Joni Mitchell, the whole music industry and Spotify. But we did a podcast episode where I talked about how Rogan tried to get me canceled from the Comedy Store, and it was a really kind of funny, interesting, like, for me, it was kind of interesting to see it from my perspective.
Is that true? Or did someone like? Some people like to talk shit.
Well, no. I mean, in the very beginning, he tried to get me banned.
Why?
He just didn't like me. He just never liked me for some reason. And I talk about it on the podcast. He used to call me the mayor of Hollywood. He was very condescending to. Oh, I'm sorry. He used to go like this: Mayor of Hollywood.
That sucks.
And but it's fine. I wasn't even like upset about it. But he called the Comedy Store and said if my name's on the lineup, he wouldn't perform. So then the lineup came out that Friday, and he wasn't on it. I was on it. And I was tight with Mitzi back then, Mitzi Shore, the owner. And he called Duncan Trussell, who used to book it. Remember, he was the talent booker at the time. What the fuck? How come my name was on the thing? And Duncan said, hey, man, Mitzi Shore told me to tell you, don't tell her how to run her club.
Wow.
And then he called her and apologized and sent her flowers, and he was back. And then 2 weeks later, the Mencia thing happened, and then she banned him. So interesting full circle, and then eventually he kind of,
I think if he heard this, he would probably reach out to you and be like, "That, that's probably not what happened." Or,
maybe
Like,
not.
I'm sorry for that happening.
In any case,
like, just the whole like, I don't know, man. Like I've learned that like when someone else fails, it doesn't prop me up ever. So it doesn't,
It props me up. When I watch people fail.
No, but I don't get like my life doesn't get any better.
I'm joking.
It would be nice. That would be a pretty awesome thing if that person failed and then you get fucking. But it's just like that person's just failing. It's not like it doesn't really make my life any better. Although sometimes like when people like do shit where you're just like, because there's a whole culture of things that you like comics talk about. Like, dude, that guy is like. And I'm not even talking about Chris D'Elia because I had no idea that D'Elia was banging or attempting to bang. I didn't know any of that till that came out. But there are other people though that you're like, wait a minute, like that guy. I think he's 18 or 19. The fuck is going on here?
Right.
And then when that shit comes out, you're like, good, because that's not right,
Right. Well, look, two things. Plug your social media.
Yes. Adam Comedian is my Instagram, Twitter, Adam Comedian. If you're an MMA fan, MMA Roasted. AdamHunterComedy.com has my whole tour dates. And you guys are the best. And I'm happy for you, man.
Hold on. One last thing.
Pretty good.
Yes.
Tell us your best quick Hollywood tale.
Best Hollywood tale?
Yeah, your best Hollywood tale. It could be anything. It could be anything Hollywood related.
Okay, this is just.
It doesn't even have to.
This is just
happen in Hollywood. It could be anywhere around the world, but Hollywood related.
Well, this isn't it has to be Hollywood, or it could just be like. All right, so
something related to Hollywood.
I got two. I don't know which one's.
It could be an actor. It could be.
So one time I used to go to porn star karaoke, right? Which is at Burbank. They would have porn stars doing karaoke. It's exactly what it was, which is great until everyone found out about it. And then
I never even.
And then people were like, it was like the zoo. Like the porn stars was the exhibit. Everyone, and all the creeps were like in the back, So I remember like that song "Dirty" came out, Christina Aguilera, and all of a sudden all these fucking hot porn chicks were singing, and it was like they were like making out with each other and like finger blasting. It was nuts, right? So then I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I'm sitting next to, I think it was John Popper from the Blues Traveler, and then it was who else? It was John Popper. Be Real was there from Cypress Hill. And Ron Jeremy, right?
Well, he's a porn star.
Yeah, he's a porn star. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Like I'm sitting with these guys. I don't even know these. I'm like happy at a table with them. I don't know I don't think anyone even knows each other. We're just at this table. And I'm like, wow, what could be more crazy? And all of a sudden, Tommy Lee walks in. Like, he got, like, the signal, like, hey, there's sluts going on. Like, this is like this little fucking Burbank. So he sits down, and some chick's like, hey, Tommy, and shows Tommy her breasts, right?
Of course. He's
And
the
then
drummer for
right
Motley
away,
Crue.
within 3 seconds. And Tommy's like, so he just takes out his lighter and just starts to light her girl's tits on fire, right? Like, for no reason.
What the fuck?
What?
Yeah, he's like, and then she's just like, it was like the most awkward.
Well, they're fake, so you know.
Yeah, but still, like, that was not the reaction anyone was expecting. And then
the
she just
fuck?
gets up and leaves.
Was she hurt by it?
She was annoyed. Like, I think she wanted him to,
I mean,
like,
I'd be annoyed too, but like, did she was like,
no,
ow.
no.
No pain?
Not really. Yeah, she got to, like, the nipple, and he's like, and then she just left.
What the fuck?
So that's one. And the
That's
other
our
one was
best
like,
Hollywood story to date.
I'm like driving to where was I? I was in somewhere in Northern California to do a gig at and it was like tonight at Planet Gemini. Remember Planet Gemini? It was like up north. They were like tonight Planet Gemini, Too Short's performing on the radio. I'm like, I'm at the fucking Planet Gemini. That's weird. Like, so then I call up and I'm like, is Too Short there tonight? They're like, yeah. I'm like, what about the comedy show? And they're like, oh, that's before the rap show. I'm like, great, right? So I show up. There's not one person there for comedy. It's like a very like urban crowd, a lot of black people, like white people. But it was like no one there wanted to see comedy, right? So I go up there and I'm like, I do a couple jokes, and people are just like, what the, like, they think I'm like the opening act or doing the sound. So I just start like cursing at the end, like motherfucker, and getting kind of a laugh, whatever. And then this guy, D. Militant, rest in peace, he goes on next, and he does like 30 minutes about how white people are the devil and like fuck white people. People are laughing at this, right? Then Too Short is getting a blowjob in his limo, so he's late because they're like, where's Too Short? They're like, he's getting a blowjob in limo, right? So he comes out like an hour and a half late, right? So now people are pissed because they're like, the comedy show's been over. He gets up there, he does like 2 songs about making money, and he goes, you know what? I ain't getting paid shit for this gig. I'm not doing any more songs until you guys give me $10,000, right? And just stands there. So now everyone's like looking around, and people start like throwing like money in a bucket. And I'm watching, it's like $6 in there. Like this, people are not fucking. You know, he's holding up the crowd for more songs. So then he goes, all right, I want 2 sperm swallowers to blow me right now. I'll do more songs. These 2 fat white girls are like, we'll blow you, right? So they jump on stage, and he looks at them.
Where is this?
Planet Gemini, Monterey, California. And he looks at them and he goes, I said sperm swallowers, not sperm whales, right? And everyone's like, oh, right, fuck. And then like the time runs out. He does like one more song, but they had to end. So then like he does like 3 songs total. And he comes down, and now the lights go on, and everyone's pissed because they just spent 3 songs and got like robbed, right? So like 20 fucking fights break out. Just like fucking here. Bottles getting thrown. The guy's wife is the manager. She's fucking all bloody. The kid, I'm hiding behind the bar like it's a fucking Western, you know, like fucking like bottles getting thrown over my head. Like I'm fucking like, what the, like it was just madness. All the cops show up. I come back the next day. I'm like, cause it was a Friday and the show was Saturday, and I'm like, Anthony, man, it was crazy last night. He goes, yeah, let me talk to you. He goes, you were too dirty on stage.
And that's what instigated the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the fuck. That was the problem,
Damn.
not
That's
the
so fucked
fucking the
up.
riot that happened.
Hey, real quick, Wolf, we want to wrap up, right? Can we do like 2 quick minutes, maybe 3 if you can squeeze it in 2-3 minutes? I don't know. You can call us a Hollywood tale or not, but I talked about, we had Ari Sandel, who's a friend of mine. I don't know if you know him. He's a director and whatever.
Yeah.
We had him on, and we were talking about how we both auditioned for Punk'd. And he, I guess, heard your story
Yeah.
and confused it with me. So do you want to tell everybody the audition
Hell
for
yeah.
season what? Season 3 it was?
I think it was season 3.
You called me up, and I did season 2 of Punk'd. And you called me up, and then I got fired because I did an episode that they said people would recognize me too much, so we have to let you go. And then you got an audition. You called me up and you said, I'm going to audition for Punk'd. What did you do?
Here's what you did. You said, hey, here's what you do. You want to get this part? Here's what you do.
I didn't say this.
Okay, he says,
I guarantee
he
you
goes,
did.
pretend. He goes, that like you don't want. He goes, go do the audition and then he goes, turn it down. He goes, you just say like, thank you. I'm not really into this. Not my thing. And then punk them. That's how I got the part. I'm like, fucking brilliant. He's a different casting person. So I go in there. And I do like this scene. They want to do a monologue. I do a monologue from like Chasing Amy, like that one scene where I was like, "I love you," and like I'm like killing it because I don't give a shit. I know I'm not getting the part. Like people are crying, like this is like that's wonderful. And then I turn around and I go, "Listen, your network fucking sucks. You have shows like Safe Sex followed by Cancun Spring Break. You haven't played a video in 5 fucking years. You have like Jersey Shore. I go. This is the worst." You are the what's wrong with society. All of you should be ashamed of yourself. Like you're doing. It used to be there was music, no music. I go. You have just honestly, this is the worst. You have like an anti-gun thing followed by gangbang and I went off on the whole
Didn't
thing.
you kick a chair? You told me you kicked a chair.
I go. Fuck this, right?
Through the chair.
I go. I will never be on this show because this show sucks and you suck. You all should quit your jobs and fucking leave, right? And then I turn around and I go, "You're punked," and they go, "Out." They're like, I said, "No, but I was punking you. This is." They're like, "Leave." I go, "No, it was a joke." Because I go, "Get it?" Because the show's called Punk. They're like, "Security." I'm like, "Security." Like, so then I'm like, the security guy came. I had to walk out. I'm like, "Oh fuck." Now I'm like. Now I'm wondering if they're punking me, right? So then I'm like, maybe they're punking me, and I'm gonna get like a call. Right. So then but then like as I'm driving home, like I'm not getting any kind. Right. So then my agent calls. He goes, "What the fuck? What happened?" He goes, I go, "I punked them." He goes, "Well, everything you said probably was true, but he goes." So I had to write a letter, a fucking long letter, apologizing.
Really?
Yeah. Then yeah. Dude,
I remember you called me and you go, "Hey man, you gave me the shittiest advice," and I was like, "What?" You go, "You told me to go in and do." I said, "I didn't say that. I think I told you to."
Oh, dude.
Because when my audition was, "This is an interesting show, looks fun. It's not for me. Appreciate the time," and I left.
Oh yeah, no,
I wasn't like, "Your fucking network."
He turned it up a notch.
Well, that's what I heard. I heard that I was gonna like really punk them, and I was, dude.
Oh,
but you know
shit.
what? There was a lady that was in that room that went on to a different casting person, and she called me in like for like 50 things after that. Like,
right, so
but then she killed herself. But
One door closes.
Really?
30 more
Yeah,
open.
she committed suicide.
Oh shit.
But before that, it was like 50 things. So.
Well, dude, love you. Thanks for coming on.
Oh yeah, man.
Thank
Super
you.
fun, dude.
That's our episode of Hollywood Tales with Adam Hunter, my good friend, comedy colleague. Check him out on Instagram at Adam Comedy and TikTok too, right?
Yeah, Adam Comedian.
Adam Comedian. Sorry.
Yeah. No, and then the comedian is the real Adam Hunter, or the real Adam Hunter.
The real Adam Hunter. Check out his podcast, MMA Roasted. It's really fun. We're here at Jam in the Van every week shooting podcasts. Go to jaminthevan.com for live shows. They have comedy. They have cooking stuff, recordings, live music. It's a really fun place. It's at 3384 Motor Avenue in West LA. It's an ex-rehab center. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, this is?
This is an ex-rehab center.
I'm sure they love all the weed and the drugs that are.
Welcome back.
It has, yeah.
That's it. We'll see you next time. Thanks.